Hello and welcome. My name is Angelica. I am the co-director of the Specialized Center for Stuttering. And today I'm very happy because I am here with Nina Reeves. Hello, Nina.
Hello, Angelica. Good to be with you again.
Yes, I'm really happy to be with you. And well, before starting our conversation and the topic that we have planned for today, I would like you to introduce yourself, please. Could you tell us a bit more about you?
Yes, my name's Nina Reeves, and I am from Texas, and I am a stuttering specialist and private practitioner, but most of my career has been in the public schools in the United States. So I love talking about stuttering all the time.
Yes, indeed. And well, today we are here to talk about the assessment of stuttering. And of course, I know that this is this is a huge topic. And I mean, we cannot be able to talk about all the specific things because of the time, of course, but we are trying to mention some very basics and important things that, well, we would like to share with all of you. So, well, to start, just a very general question, Nina. What could you tell us about the assessment of stuttering?
Well, I think if we wanted to do sort of a brief couple of sentences about it, I think the most important thing to think about in the assessment of stuttering is the fact that in the past, the profession of speech language pathology has focused almost exclusively on the motor, what they see on the surface, the amount of stuttering, how tight it is, the severity ratings, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about because we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
And this idea of focusing way too much on what the listener is perceiving and not getting as down into what the speaker's experience of stuttering really is. And so I think, I always talk about the ICF model, the World Health Organization model, which talks about the areas of function, reactions, environment, and impact. And so making sure that we're going all four areas and even deeper of not just what the listener perceives about all those four things, not just what the parent is talking about, but what the person who stutters is experiencing in those areas.
And I really like that change of the focus because, yeah, as you were saying, for a lot of time, the stuttering has been defined, has been taught for those who don't stutter, but it should be in the other way. It's like we are the ones that have this condition. Like, why don't you tell us more about the things we have to say? And those things, of course, have create many changes. Like, the definition, for example, of what stuttering is, and many other things. And in the case of assessment, I think it gives us like a more this more focus on how we feel and what is the impact that we have for this condition, of course.
Exactly. And why has it been so focused? Research has been focused on this, on the listener's experience of stuttering and speech pathology. Now we are definitely making strides in changing that. So the more near-term past, the focus has been changing, and we have the OASIS, and we have the so many other ways to talk with people who stutter and listen to people who stutter about what is really going on, not only in their bodies, but in their thoughts and feelings, and how their environment is shaping their ability to communicate in a way that is free and spontaneous, instead of worrying so much about whether they're stuttering or not.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that I also wanted to share, because this is a question that many times, I don't know, when I'm in a presentation or something, people ask me on the chat, what tool or what test did you use to assess stuttering? And I mean, I think I will always mention, I mean, there's a variety of tools, but I think we both agree, and one of the ones that we use most, or is the Oasis? Could you tell us a bit more what the Oasis is?
Well, yes, it's the baby of my co-author and partner, Scott Yaris. And this is a wonderful assessment that is really quintessential. There's nothing else like it out there. And it finally starts to work through. It's a questionnaire that the person who stutters completes. And it works through how stuttering is impacting their daily life. Like, how much do I know about stuttering? What do I not know about stuttering? How much do I, get teased? How does it affect my feeling about communicating, say, in a classroom or at work? And these things are extremely important for speech pathologists to know. And that's one of the many different protocols and areas that we can use in assessing stuttering from the speaker's experience. I think it's important to know that that has been changing. And in our profession, the idea of having to have a number of percents of stuttered speech is no longer essential. Now, do we want to know, some baseline information about how that person stutters? Yes, absolutely. From both the external and the internal, arenas. But this focus on numbers, because we're not going to judge progress in stuttering therapy ever again in percents of stuttered speech. In fact, here in the United States, and people who have heard me present before hear me say, those percents of stuttered speech goals are what we call a due process waiting to happen. In other words, you're going to get sued if you continually try, in the public schools especially, to do percents of stuttered speech as a goal to decrease that, because stuttering, as you know, as a person who stutters, is by nature variable. It changes all that. So why are we looking at that in our assessments so much? And why are we trying to judge whether our therapy is working as to how many times a person stutters? It's kind of, we have a saying, chasing a greased pig, which is like slippery. The amounts of stuttering are slippery. And so it's not consistent enough for us to judge that we are making progress that way.
And this is a very, I'm not sure if controversial is a word that I could use, but when I have talked about this in events in South America, everybody's like, what? Like, we are not using the severe stuttering anymore. We are not using the burden. And so then what are we doing? Then what are we going to do? And it's the thing that stuttering is not just the way we talk. And this is really, really important. And I would like to talk more a bit about this. And because as you were saying, stuttering varies. The way we talk in the clinic could be completely different than the way we talk at home, in front of the class, in front of our classmates. So why some seconds of a video should represent the way I talk every day? It's impossible. It simply don't represent. It doesn't represent. So it's like, and that's very important to see how good for them is to give them a percentage. Because other thing that I noticed that happen on therapy is that the client or the student keep this number in mind. Oh, okay, I have this percentage of blah, blah, blah. And they feel happy when the percentage go lower. And then, but of course, the clinician didn't explain that it's stuttering varies. And this is just a few seconds of their speech on their whole life. So it's not, it doesn't represent our way to talk. Mm-hmm. And this is also very related to the severe rating scale. It's like, what is severe? Severe for whom? It's severe for the clinician, or is severe that listen how I talk, or is severe for how I feel it? Where we are putting the focus on the clinician thinking, on the speech, on the person who stutters thinking. And as I was saying before we start this video, something that happened to me is that I used to, I don't know, talk with other speech therapists, and they used to tell me, oh, but your stuttering is mild. It's not severe. Maybe it could be mild moderate, but you are fine. And in that moment, I feel terrible because, I don't know, I was a teenager. I felt super bad of my way to talk, and hearing that from my specialist saying, yours is not severe, like not a big thing. Of course, it also makes us feel really bad because feel us that we are not being heard.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And not being heard and being dismissed and being devalidated for how you're feeling. And obviously those are not the cornerstones of a good therapist, right? And that is absolutely not the therapist's fault in that moment. That's how it was trained. You are supposed to talk about what you see on the surface. And we didn't even know it back then that that's what we were talking about. The whole frame of reference is a mindset shift for professionals. And the idea that we don't tell our students who stutter what they're experiencing. And we don't use rating scales. And in fact, I know we feel the same about this. In my districts where I work, I have been talking for decades now, I know the rating scales exist in a lot of the assessments because that's how it gets normed. And I understand all of that. There's science behind some of that, but clinically, you don't need that for eligibility. You don't need that to describe. I mean, I don't know, Angelica, have you ever had mild to severe stuttering, maybe in the same day, like in the same moment? And what does that actually mean? Your severe would be different than someone else's understanding of severe. When I have children who stutter to come to me as a clinician, other clinicians would go, oh my gosh, they're so severe. And I'm going, not really. It's not even a reference. So the idea of using those severity ratings, plus the fact that you can be mild here, and as you just described, a little more significant here and here. So we've got to get rid of those ideas of numbers and of words that sort of don't really encapsulate what the person is experiencing.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, this doesn't mean that we don't have to assess the speech, or, I mean, we do, but we do in a way of how is the stuttering moment of the person, the tension and those characteristics, but not in the way of you are severe because you have this number of stuttering moments or whatever, because as I was saying, it's not, it doesn't really represent our real life. And that variability of stuttering is also a huge topic, but it basically says that it varies time to time, I don't know, week per week, month per month, or even situation from situation. So just saying you're severe, you have this percent, it's like, no. We can use severity for other things, like the OASIS, for example.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we've been talking about. I believe that there is a thought pattern out there that can really help clinicians, help other people understand the difference between what they see and what the other person is experiencing. And that's the iceberg, Joseph Sheehan's iceberg. I mean, what you see on the surface is a very small part of what is under the surface. And clinicians that I talk to think, oh my gosh, if we're not going to measure the amounts of stuttering, what are we going to do? And then they look at that iceberg. You never know what's going to finally get in the head, but to make that mindset mind shift. But that iceberg is then like, that person could have been fluent on the outside, but they were either managing fluency or hiding their stutter. And like, wow, why are we celebrating fluency as like a prize when maybe inside that person was not saying what they wanted to say, shifting words, pretending to think, all of the little covert sort of tricks that may appear fluent to the listener, but are really stuttered on the inside.
Yeah. What happened, for example, with the covert people that goes to therapy, and that's something that has happened to me also, that someone come to therapy and tell me, I went with another specialist, and this person told me that I'm not a person who stutters because when she or he did the report, he didn't find any stuttering. And I was like, okay. And going back to the stuttering is the sense of loss of control while as speaking. So the way or what the people can listen or can see of the moment of stuttering is not all the experience. And that's why it's really important to give or to provide a complete assessment. It's not that the way we talk is just a bit and by how we feel, what we think, how we behave, how my family thinks, how the school of the children think. Those things are really, really important, and why we are going to spend time, I don't know, trying to calculate how many times I started, if we could use this time doing other things that are useful in therapy.
And I love that idea that, yes, we're still going to assess it, but my thought is, even when I'm assessing what the listener is experiencing and I'm looking at the video, I'm not actually big into the counting part, because that's a moment of stuttering, one frequency, and that can be a moment of stuttering. Those are two very different things. And so, but while I'm doing that and then doing all of the other things in the assessment, I'm coming up with a narrative of what I saw. And I talk to the people that are in what we have, our IEP meetings, in our meetings at school, about the fact that, as you said, this is a snapshot of one specific situation, and this is all I could see at that moment. But here's my narrative, not my numbers. I don't need a lot of numbers. I can just talk about what repetitions, prolongations, blocks. Yes, these are things that I saw. Secondary features, pushing, changing. All of that is rich, salient information, as long as we see it as a snapshot, and as long as we see it as that's the listener's experience of that's what that is. It's, not wrong. It's just not complete.
Yeah.
And so asking the child and talking with the person who stutters about what we're thinking and observing and seeing what else is there.
Yeah, definitely. Because sometimes when I have talk about this, I also have heard things like, but if I don't have a person, then what I'm going to do? Or, and those things that I was mentioning, but as you were saying, this is just a small part. Stuttering is more than just stuttering, as you both always says. And it's true. So it's basically assess everything. It's not just how we talk. And here I also would like to mention, because as I was saying, every time that I talk about this here in South America, it's like and I know that this can be, I don't know, I have had many experiences. Even once a colleague came to me and told me, I understand everything what you said, but to me the severity makes sense, so I will keep doing it. And I was like, I cannot force everybody to keep doing it, but what I would like to share is the idea just to be open about the new things that are coming. And actually this is not like super new, it's like something that comes over a long time also, but be open to new things, because things change. And as I think that I mentioned this on the video that we did 1 year ago. Maybe what we are talking today could be the opposite. I don't know, other new thing in 50 years. We don't know. But for now, this is what we have. And we should try to work in this way also, if it's the best we can do for our clients or students.
Yes. When we know more, we do more. And that deeper level of understanding of the experience of stuttering. So that's how we assess it. That's how we write goals. And that's how we take documentation of progress, is the experience of communication as a person who happens to stutter sometimes in a world that doesn't always understand stuttering.
Yeah, it's true. And just to finish this video, I know that, well, for the people that is new in this channel, I just wanted to mention that the Oasis is also in Spanish. I know that important fact to mention. And the other thing that I want to mention is that I know that Scott Jarus is working on the test, I think is the word, to assess the severity of the stuttering, but from the perspective of people who stutter, which when I listened to that presentation, I think I listened to it in the Australia or New Zealand, I don't remember, conference like 1 year or almost 2 years ago. I was like, this makes all sense.
So much sense. It's going to be challenging because, you know, the mindset shift has to be from, you know, the listener going ... right, to it's going to be a challenge. But like you said, be open to the change and realize that all of that data can be put together to create a more cohesive, comprehensive idea of what's actually happening. And that then can shift. When we report that kind of information, then the people around the child, the person, can start their mindset shift or continue their mindset shift, that this isn't about what you think and feel about that person's stuttering, but how they are experiencing it. And I think that's all just good stuff.
Yeah. Like a really nice things coming. I can imagine it will take time because I mean, Scott is always busy doing a lot of things, and now doing that is like, I know that. And also even more time to have it in Spanish, but it will come eventually. So I mean, I'm sure that we are going to, I don't know, talk with Scott or something like that for another video when it's ready to share out with the Latin American community.
Yes, that will be a very exciting time. And I think I love, you know, to finish my thoughts about this, the amount of work that has been going into shifting the ideas from the listener to the speaker is not new. You are so correct. This research, these ideas are decades old. People are like, "Ooh, this is so new." And I'm like, I've been around a long time. This is not new, but it wasn't as reachable, as discussable. I mean, things like what you're doing are bringing them to the clinicians and the caregivers of people who stutter to get this moving a little faster. And most clinicians, once they get through the, what are we going to do, go, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. I was never, you know, getting them to be 90% fluent anyway. I always felt like a failure. They felt like a failure. Everybody felt like a failure. And so, and my cat agrees.
Yes.
So I think that that's an interesting thing. When you say be open, there's an initial shock. Yes. Because it's like, oh, I can't do that. What do I do? But it's like, wait, let's not think about what we're going to do. Let's think about how we're going to change our thoughts and feelings about stuttering and about what our role is in stuttering therapy. And that then it's almost like, oh, you mean I'm not supposed to cure them? I'm not supposed to be like the stutter police? This actually feels good to me. And then they learn more things and things get easier for the clinician and for the child who stutters. And I can't imagine a better idea of destigmatizing the whole experience.
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. I remember the first time when I listened to this, I was like, why no one have mentioned those things in South America? Why this information is not here yet? And that's why, I don't know, for example, in our reports or things like that, we always write like a paragraph saying we are not assessing that severity because of the variability, and just in case, because just for someone else to read it, well, we'll look for it, and just, I don't know, I think that's something I want to share just for those who listen.
That's a great tip. Yeah, it's almost like a disclaimer so that people aren't like, oh, they didn't do a complete eval, but boy, they sure did, because this is why. It's not only what we are doing or what we're not doing, but it's why. And then it starts to leak in. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, time flies. But I mean, I had a really nice time talking about this topic. And yeah, I hope all of you will like it. And again, thank you so much, Nina, for joining me again today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. And you know, we're always around. And I can't wait for you to get to Michigan.
Yes, just 1 month. Can't wait to be in the lab of Scott. Like I have a countdown or something waiting for it. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.